And then, of course, last but not least, Kingsley Uzoma is Senior Special Assistant to the President on Nigeria on agribusiness and productivity enhancement. Prior to the current position, he was consultant to the Presidential Information Committee on Technical Transfer, focusing on irrigation and climate-smart agriculture. Additionally, Kingsley led his expertise as a consultant to Tony Blair Institute for Global Change. Notably, from 2020 to 2023, he was a good agronomic practices lead for the Project for Agricultural Coordination and Execution under the Office of the Vice President of Nigeria. So please give a warm welcome to all of our panelists this morning. So I'm going to start with Kingsley. So, as a representative for government on the panel, we heard from the minister quite clearly, a call to action. And a suggestion that we should be bold. Can you please share for us why food security is a priority for President Tinubu's administration and how you think the private sector can help input into the change you're trying to advance?
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for taking your time today to come. Precious Friday, our Muslim brothers. People are prepared to go on weekends, and we are here to speak on a topic that actually affects every one of us, every facet of our life. So, back to the question. Food security is at the heart of security in Nigeria. But before I get into that, and why it's a priority to President Tinubu, we need to know why it should be a priority and why we are where we are today in terms of food insecurity in the country. As you all may know, President Tinubu assumed office May 29, 2023. But prior to coming into office in 2022, we had devastating flood in the major agricultural producing communities in the country: Jigawa, Sokoto, Zamfara, Katsina. As you all know, the vast majority of the arable land in Nigeria are located in northern Nigeria, and that's the epicenter of that devastating flood. That took out around 600,000 hectares of already cultivated farmlands. So if we take an average yield of 1 ton or 1.5 ton, it's 900,000. If you take 2, it's above 1 million metric tons of food that we are taking out of the reserve. Because the way we feed this country is that the food we are going to eat starting next year are the ones produced this year. So entering into this administration, we came in with a deficit from the previous year. And again, also devastating pests and diseases within the major agricultural communities. The falling worm attacks on fields in the western part of the country. That also led to a limited supply or reserve entering into administration. Also, the farmer header crisis that had persisted for the past 10 years had actually taken out some farmers from their farmland that are no longer going to farm. So all these things had, contributed to a situation where, on assumption of office, we're in a very precarious situation in terms of food and nutrition security. And like I said, it's not only about food and feeding the people. It's at the center of every facet of our life, economic and environmental and societal. For instance, agriculture is a major contributor to agriculture is the bedrock of food and nutrition security. And agriculture is a major contributor to our GDP. On 10-year annualized average is around 24% contribution to our GDP. And it's also a major employer of labor. Close to 40% is alternating between 32 to 38%. And it's also a major contributor to greenhouse gas emission. This is also, as a responsible nation, all these things revolves around food security. It's around 30% contributor to greenhouse gas emission. Nigeria is not an energy-intensive country, so majority of GHG emission from the country is from agricultural space. So, as a responsible player within the international community, he has to take it as a priority. Also, water consumption, water extraction, from especially in the northern frontiers of the country, where the vast majority of the agricultural land mass are located. We are having the problem of rapid water extraction to fuel the agricultural space. So all these things coming together, and according to the data which also existed before he came into office from the Nigerian Demography and the Health Survey, around 34 million of our people are first affected by food and nutrition insecurity. According to UNICEF 2022, all these things before he came into office, and these are part of the things that actually inspired him to run to see how we can tackle these challenges. Around 22 million children are facing malnutrition or stunting, especially in northern Nigeria. So when he came into office, the first major policy decision was declaration of food, a national emergency within the food and water, both availability and affordability. In July 2023, the president declared, to tell you it's a major priority to the president, declared emergency in the food and water security in this country, elevating it from just ordinary platform within the Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Health, to the national security platform, where major decisions can be taken and the government can have an overriding influence or intervention. So it's a big priority to the country, and Mr. President, having done that, has not just made the pronunciation and relaxed. He came in immediately after he won the election, even before swearing, having been appraised with all this data. He sent the first official mission as government-elect, led by the Vice President, who went to Ethiopia to study the wheat revolution in Ethiopia, to see how we can be able to, do what Ethiopia had done, moving Ethiopia within 2 years from a net importer of wheat to a net exporter to the neighboring countries. As you all know, in 2021, our import bill for wheat was $3.1 billion. So we looked at what can we do. This was even before he entered office. So we went to Ethiopia, after we went to Kenya to also study about horticulture. And that we prepared a brief for him, and that was for the first time we had a major intervention within the wheat ecosystem. We had a partnership, African Food Security Value Support Facility from African Development Bank, a $104 million credit facility. The first round was 99.63, just $100 million, was specifically targeted on wheat dry season within the wheat farming communities in Katsina, Jigawa, Kano, Kaduna, Plateau, Bauchi, Borno, Yobe. And we were able to upscale from a minute 5,000 to 10,000 hectares to around 124,000 hectares within that system. And we were able to produce enough food that have been able to reduce our import dependency. The flour mills was a major partner in that scheme. In fact, we used the ship of the flour mills to do the importation of the drought and heat resistant wheat variety from Simi, Mexico. That's also not alone. In partnership with Central Bank of Nigeria and NSIA, we were able to distribute 2.15 million bags of NPK fertilizer to farmers across the nation. And we did not just do it just like the normal political intervention. We leveraged data on farm size, because during the last administration, when we did the farm data under the Agriculture Food and Jobs Program, we were able to map out the farmers best using just statistics. We were able to calculate the farm size, calculate the job coordinates of the farm, and link it to the different economic and demographic agricultural data of the farmer. So we leverage that data to do a much more targeted fertilizer distribution and calculated basket. These are the potential recipients. And this is the amount of fertilizer that will go to these states. So it's not just based on random pro rata distribution to states. Again, the president is also intervening, knowing that seed system is the root cause, the foundation for every effective productivity enhancement. So it's also intervening within the Nigerian seed system. In fact, we are doing a balancing approach to weed out the fake seed companies that are perverting the system, that are making farmers, when they buy from them and they don't get the promised yield, the farmers will no longer believe that there is the need for you to move from the open pollinated varieties to the hybrid varieties. So, and all these things We have just mentioned at the short-term intervention, but we cannot do it alone. We have this, the president has designed a strategy combining these short-term interventions with long-term, which will only be addressed with private sector partnership. And that is why we have been working with different development partners and responsible partners. In fact, the Sahel Consulting is one of the Sahel Consulting is supporting my office, providing framework for us to leverage different already designed government programs to pitch to the private sectors, and that is why we are here today. And also some members of the team also here today to interact and network and see how we can partner with different responsible and interested private sector partners to drive down this. There is a policy presidential initiative for business development. In fact, it has different pillars: climate smart agriculture, family farm support program, renewable energy agribusiness program, the Green Imperative Program, the National Livestock Transformation Plan, and also, we are only talking about the crop agriculture, the livestock agriculture. For the first time in the history of Nigeria, the president was able to actually take a deep focus on livestock, and that was why he created the Ministry of Livestock Development and also the Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy, where fisheries and aquaculture was given a dedicated line department in the ministry to handle and the livestock to handle. So, in summary, it's a big priority based on this multiplicity of interventions, both short-term and long-term, to address the root cause of the food insecurity in the country. Thank you.
Thank you. If you might want to comment on some of that, but also on the specific question about improving access to capital.
As the representative of the federal government, people have made references to some things that are linked to government. Possibly, I can say that we are not doing the strategic communication very well. So, I will take extra 2 minutes to address all these things and to let the public and the private sector partners know what government is doing so that they can also plan and work together with us in partnership. One, from the last speaker, the standard and measures. Standard and measures is not only food. So when this administration came on board, the standard and measures department in the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, we are dormant. So, and it's not something to be implemented at the national level alone. So, at the National Economic Council, put in charge by the Vice President, membership with all the states for the Federation, Minister of Finance, Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, and Minister of Agriculture and FCT as statutory members. It was brought up to have a holistic and comprehensive review of the measures, starting with oil and gas sector, because we talk about oil theft in the country. The primary root cause of that is the lack of standard and measures and the port terminals where these exports are being removed. The laws are there, but it's not being implemented. And we can also work in isolation of the sanitary regulation of the WTO. So we are working for us to enhance export strength of our communities within the international community. The standard and measures is there, but it also needs to align it with the sanitary and phytosanitary measures of the WTO and other export destination countries. So we are working to review that in synergy so that if you are addressing to the European market, just the matrix system and the other system, the UK system and the American system are not the same standard and measures. And also the phytosanitary requirements are not the same. So we are working together with the sanitary and phytosanitary requirements, both in the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment to address it holistically so that the package will not just be standard and measure, but standard and measure back in sanitary and phytosanitary measures. One. That's one. And also the access to gas. We know we are developing the AKJ pipeline, and the corridors of the other pipeline, it presents opportunity for export for processing zones. And also when we have the DG of the Border Community Development Agency, which is an agency under the presidency, the chairman of that agency, the Vice President of Nigeria, and we also have the National Agricultural Development, the Land Development Authority, NADA, which is also chaired by the president. These are the two presidential agencies represented, and they were mandated to come here to navigate so that they can also talk about that. The Border Community Development District is also working to do that, and their logistic infrastructure mandate within the border community that have been asked to develop standard logistic infrastructure to enhance our position within the African Continental Free Trade Area. So they're also working, developing the sanitary and sanitary measures and also the standard measures for those exports within the border communities. And on research, Back to what we talked about cassava, we have a lot. The Federal Industrial Research, Bureau, they have a whole lot that have done in terms of cassava industrialization. The issue is the lack of communication. That's why I said we are not doing the strategic calls to market this thing very well. They have done in the cassava derivative, and that's why our partner in the recently launched Nigerian Cassava Investment Accelerator being implemented by the Boston Consulting Group in partnership with Lagos Business School, chaired by the Vice President and myself and the Secretary of the Committee. We are trying to leverage the research within the Nigerian ecosystem to enhance cassava as a major multi-billion-dollar industry player. And back to what we've said about sugar, we also want to, as our capacity to produce has not been further enhanced, we need to enhance cassava to contribute. In the third derivative of cassava in the industrialization platform, we have the high quality cassava flour, we have the sugar, we have the ethanol, we have the modified starch and adhesives, we have the sweeteners and syrups, we have the food grade ethanol, and we have the sorbitol. All these have big line items, billion-dollar items. If we take 10% only high quality cassava flour, the research has been done there, so it's just for us to take it from the laboratory to the industry, and that's what Accelerate is doing. And back to irrigation, what you're talking about. There are currently 2 programs that federal government is doing in partnership with World Bank that's specifically designed to address irrigation, and they are all operational. One is the SPIN, Sustainable Power and Irrigation in Nigeria. It is $500 million invested by the World Bank for a rehabilitation and upgrading of water distribution and conveyance system within the irrigation command areas in the country. We're actually working with them to expand the command area coverage. And in that, we also have working with the Japanese International Cooperation Agency for additional co-financing of around $300 million to further enhance that. And we have the tax program under the Rural Electrification Agency, distributed access to renewable energy scale-up. It has 3 pillars: home solar solution, solar energy for irrigation, and solar energy for processing. Also, that helps to address the issue of the cold shell facility, because that, as a private sector partner, you should be talking with them. It's a loan that is guaranteed with the sovereign guarantee of the federal government, is to be delivered by private sector. So, and that one is also has additional co-financing of $200 million from JICA and USAID and GIZ. The total package is $1 billion, but they currently signed with the federal government guarantee $750 million. All these are provided to address the irrigation deficit in the country. And mechanization. The president is going to Brazil. One of the things that will be signed in Brazil is the Green Imperative Project. It's a €995 billion or $1.1 billion loan, specifically addressed for mechanization. It has 2 companies, Type A or Type 1, Type B or Type 2. Type A will cover 642 local governments, and Type 2, which is for post-production processing, will cover 132. So each local government in Nigeria, the 774 local government, will have a federal government presence within leveraging the financing from the Green Imperative. Is a Nigeria-Brazil collaboration on agricultural mechanization, co-financed by Islamic Development Bank, Deutsche Bank, and Brazilian Development Bank, and ensured by the Islamic Corporation for Insurance of Export Credit and Investment and Export Credit. So, all these things are packaged, just give you, because as a government, we need to project, communicate strategically what government is doing, and as a private sector partners here, they will begin to leverage that. This is an export credit guaranteed by the federal government. So, any of you here, the young man operating in Jigawa, the other one, this opportunity, they call it service center. Mr. President is attending G20, and they will sign that. It has already been signed, and the ceremony will be conducted there. It's Nigeria-Brazil partnership, $1.1 billion. So if you merit to qualify, you will get the credit to upscale your scheme. For the irrigation, the same thing is happening. And we're also working under the PIFAC Presidential Initiative and Business Development. We are working, developing a pilot which has been done in Ethiopia. They call it distributed renewable energy agricultural modalities, and in Rwanda. We want to replicate that so that we use it as a pilot. The financial institutions in Nigeria will use that to design a lending product just to address irrigation, because federal government alone cannot address it for it to be sustainable. So we are doing solar energy power center pivot irrigation to power the center pivot extract the work, and also to do the processing within communities. We are starting with 4 pilots in 4 states in partnership with AGRA, Shell Foundation, Hyphen Foundation, and Office of the Vice President. So we are addressing all the what we talked about fertilization. For now, Nigeria is the best in terms of fertilizer, thanks to NSIA, the PFI, Presidential Fertilizer Initiative, spearheaded by the NSIA. So all these things you have to pay attention as a business entity interested in expanding your concern. Look at what government is doing so that you fit in and leverage and expand and contribute to the growth of the Nigerian economy.
Great. I'm going to end with a different question for you, but for each of our other panelists, we've heard from the minister and from every other speaker today that we've done enough talking and that now is the time for action. So in 1 minute, I'd like each of you to say to me, what is the single most important action that we need to take as the private sector government? From your view, what is the single most important thing to do to implement next? And back and tell the President about this illustrious conference that you attended and all that you've learned from your fellow panelists. 60 seconds, tell us, what's the one thing you're going to tell him he needs to do?
One thing.
Not something you're doing already, something that you've heard
One
here.
thing is productivity enhancement. The mantra should be increased in yield. I will give you an instance. The security is a challenge is given and it cannot be solved in 1 year. But if we can move our productivity from, let's take maize, from 1 ton per hectare in an average farmer's field to 4 tons per hectare, which is of terrible in other sub-Saharan Africa and East Africa. It means if insecurity are taken out 2 million and we are farming 10 million hectares, insecurity has knocked out 5 million hectares. And you have 5 million hectares that is producing 4 times, you have double the amount of productivity you have now. Adding irrigation, if you do 3 times a year, within that 5 million remaining, you do 3 times a year, plus 4 times increase, it is 5 million times 12, 60 million hectares. So it's more than 3 times what you would have gotten if the insecurity were in there. So the end goal, private sector, research, science, everything, we should all work towards productivity enhancement.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks to the audience. Please give a nice round of applause to our panel today.
Thank you very much, Melissa, for steering the conversation. You take a good picture, sir. Good picture. Thank you.